hello Exiles, and let me be frank, that live stream was probably the best live stream I have ever seen GGG do. It was absolutely crazy what they've been cooking. With that being said, thank you for everyone that tuned in last night, and if you didn't tune in, throw us a subscribe or throw us a like or throw us a comment down below on this video. We're going to go through a very quick TLDR in less than 10 minutes, so let's begin. Now, the first thing that Jonathan did confirm is that if you have spent more than $480 within the lifetime of Path of Exile, you will get a free key to the early access. Now, what he did also go through is the main storyline for PoE2, and that you have to track down the Seed of Corruption, which is the source of all the devastation and was the uprise of all of the monsters and death that's happened across Rayclast. Now, he has also confirmed the 6 classes we are going to have, which is the Sorcerer, the Warrior, the Ranger, the Witch, the Mercenary, and the Monk. And we're going to have 12 ascendancies. They're going to be 2 per class, so we're going to run through them. The first one is Stormweaver, where you would focus on elements and all sorts of stuff to do with shock. Next one is Chromancer, which is to do with time manipulation, where you can literally freeze time. We then have Warbringer, which is based on ancestral spirits, encasing yourself in jade and ward cries. We have the Titan, which is focusing on shockwaves and slams. We have the Deadeye, which is obviously Deadeye, focuses on marksman and projectiles. We have the Pathfinder, which is obviously focused on flasks, utility, and poisons. We have the Infernalist, which is focused on fire, ignite, and can actually turn into a demon. The Blood Mage, which is all focused on blood skills and life. We have the Invoker, which is all based around elements, and you can meditate and you can turn into an avatar. The Acolyte of Chayula, which focuses on chaos damage, Chayula, breach, flames, and you can pick up flames for life, mana, and damage. The Witch Hunter, which is for explode, focuses on big hits and concentration on bosses. And the final one is the Gemling Legionnaire, which is based around skill slots, +1 reses, and quality of gems. Now, you will be progressing through the acts twice. That is through Act 1 through to 3 on normal difficulty, and then again on cruel. Now, this is to ensure that your skill level meets the required state to go to maps, or should I say waystones, and not get absolutely obliterated. The end game is now infinite and is delve-like, and starts all at the ziggurat, where Doriani holds the waystone device, and you will traverse through to monster-filled zones. You will also then travel through to cities. You will then review the towers to extend your reach on the Fog of War. You will use tablets to then juice and influence your endgame waystones. You will harness realm gates to travel to new unreachable destinations like breachstones, and I'm sure that there'll be much more. You can explore reliquary vaults, scour the untainted paradise for the nameless seer and up to 600% XP. Discover hideouts and find them for yourself. Complete corruption within waystones, where you'll have 1 in 4 maps will contain a boss. And alternatively, you can avoid them entirely, or you can just travel to regular zones until you are strong enough. These are farmable and is one of the many endgame mechanics that revolves around the Atlas tree. Now, one thing to note that is if you do die within a waystone, then that area is completely gone. You cannot return to it, and you'll have to navigate around it to get to the desired location. Therefore, the end game is now a 1 portal end game, and you'll need to focus on trying to stay alive. Now, we will see the return of mechanics like shrines, strongboxes beyond within corrupted waystones. However, there is 7 core trees that revolve around your Atlas tree, and that is following around the entire end game. Now, we're going to run through them, but every single piece and every single tree is connected to 1 piece of content. Now, the first one that we should all know is Breach. So anyone who's played Path of Exile 1, you will know that this is a rift in time that creates monsters. However, within the new Breach, you can obtain catalysts to add quality to rings. Now, these rings can be added to Breach rings, which now have a new max quality of 50%. Bear in mind, these now only apply to rings and amulets, not belts. You can also collect splinters to open a breach stone to fight the new boss, which is the new pinnacle boss, which is called Zesht. This will then give you a point for your Breach Atlas skill tree. This will then obviously make your content much harder. The next one is then Ritual, where you will then collect favor, much like we do in Path of Exile 1. However, you can buy omens, which will then help for deterministic crafting and help you with obviously crafting any of your end game gear. As always, the King of the Mists will be the pinnacle boss that will be for the end of Ritual. The next piece of content would be Delirium. Now, within Delirium, it has been slightly changed. You're now collecting distilled emotions. Now, distilled emotions you use to instill your amulet, with this replaces the blight oil anoint system that is in PoE 1. Therefore, it will then mean that you won't get any more blighted maps, which means, sadly, rest in peace blight. Carrying on though, it does also replace the Delirium Orb options that we would have, and also within Delirium we also have Simulacrum, which you'll then have a pinnacle boss, which I'm going to only assume is going to be Kosis. Now the next one would be Expedition, where obviously within Path of Exile 1 you use bombs to explode sites, you collect and spend artifacts, you obtain logbooks, you trade with NPCs like Tujen, Rog, Danning and Gwen, and finally you will need to take down Orloth, who is the Knights of the Sun pinnacle boss. The next thing is the endgame trials, so obviously where you would obviously use your trials to get your ascendancies, you can then carry on within these endgame trials and push them further. Now the first one is the Trial of Sakima, which is a very Sanctum roguelike, and obviously within this you would obviously go through the levels. There's 4 floors and on every single level there is a boss. Now the main reward that you would get within this is jewels. Now the jewels that you can get are very powerful and they can increase your passives by up to 25%. There is a pinnacle boss on the top floor, and these will include boons and afflictions. Now if that is not your cup of tea and you would rather go for something else, then you can do the Trial of Chaos Ultimatum, which basically is the exact same but it's in a map. And on this map, it provides increasing difficulty to every single zone. It has new types of rounds and it will provide you with new soul cores. Now these soul cores you can then equip into your gear. This will then obviously enhance your armor, and it will have stats on these that you cannot find within any form of runes. And finally, the pinnacle boss for this zone would be the Trial Master. Now the last Atlas tree is connected to the big pinnacle big boss. Now you would need to take on the 3 faction lieutenants on the Atlas, and you would then need to obtain these 3 keys to try and take on the biggest, baddest boss of them all. Now, we didn't get to see anything within the reveal trailer because he's kept it very secret, and all he has basically said is that you're going to have to farm the keys yourself and find out what it's like. Either way, I'm still very excited. I want to see what the fight is, who it's going to be about. Is it going to be something connected to PoE 1? Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see. The next thing is they discussed runes, which is a new thing that you can put into your gear, which is basically a socket. Now you can actually salvage armor pieces, weapons as well, and it will give you what's called an Artificer's Orb. You can then use that on any gear to give it a socket. It did also confirm that you can have 2 sockets on a 2-handed weapon, 2 on a chest and 1 on every other. You can also break down any items with quality to give you some whetstones and armor scraps. New changes to Varlobs as well, where Varlobs now give enchants to existing implicits. They have a chance to re-roll half its modifiers, or it could brick your item. They can also add 3 sockets. They also discussed the new Trinket Flask system, where we now have 1 dedicated slot for life flasks and for mana, and we now have to pick up trinkets to help with either freeze mitigation, bleed mitigation, and many other mitigations. And the last thing that they discussed is that essences are back. However, they have a new deterministic crafting option where you can now upgrade a normal to a magic with a regular essence, and you can then get a greater essence and do a magic to a rare. So you have 2 deterministic crafting options. And the last thing that Mark said when he was doing the Q&A is he said that block is going to be very, very strong in the end game, and he suggests that people use it to stay alive. There was many talks in regards to the fact that you can juice this Atlas to the moon, you can use the towers, you can use the tablets, you can do stacking mechanics of multiple towers together, you can do corruption areas, you can then corrupt the actual waystones themselves. It sounds absolutely ludicrous, and I am loving every second of it, and I cannot wait till the 6th of December for it to come about. What is your feedback, guys? What did you think about it? That is basically the entire live stream I managed to do it in 9 minutes. That's got to be a record. What are your thoughts? What did you think about it? Are you going to change class? What ascendancy are you going to go? Is there anything that you've seen that you don't like? Is there anything that you've seen that you do like? I still cannot wait to play Mercenary. From what I've seen, it looks absolutely bonkers. Some of the ascendancies that we saw tonight as well is absolutely crazy. There is the demon one, the Gemlin Legionnaire just looks absolutely busted, and I cannot wait for everyone to start making some crazy builds so I can try them all out this year, and the beginning of next year is going to be a crazy time. Until the next video, guys, thank you for watching and stay sane.